When you think about the top country for US imports, who comes to mind? China, right? For 15 years, China dominated this space, but recently, Mexico has overtaken them. Yes, you heard that right. Mexico has surpassed China as the biggest supplier of goods to the US. Now, you're probably wondering, how did this happen? Well, just a few years ago, this change seemed unimaginable. In 2018 and 2019, China maintained a hefty $200 billion lead over Mexico in US imports. So, how did Mexico catch up? Is it a result of Mexico's booming economy and smart business strategies? Or is there another factor at play? What's behind this dramatic change? Let's dive into this. It's not just a story of Mexico's economic boom. The real twist involves Chinese companies finding a clever way to sidestep hefty tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. Facing heavy tariffs on goods produced in China, Chinese companies began seeking alternative ways to access the US market without incurring these extra costs. Their solution? Investing in Mexico. By establishing manufacturing operations in Mexico, Chinese businesses could sidestep the tariffs, as goods produced in Mexico are not subject to the same import duties as those made in China. Trump recently warned that if he gets reelected, he's planning to slap a 100% tariff on cars coming from China. But China has found a loophole: Mexico. They've been building massive manufacturing facilities there, like the $1.1 billion investment in the Hofusan plant, which spans 2,100 acres. Such facilities have enabled Chinese companies to produce goods within Mexico and then export them to the US, thus bypassing the tariffs that would have applied had these goods been produced in China. The impact of this shift is evident in the numbers. Out of the 33 Chinese auto parts manufacturers registered in Mexico, 18 export their products directly to the US. This maneuver is not coincidental, but a calculated response to the 25% tariffs imposed on goods manufactured in China. As one Chinese executive put it, to do good business with America, you need to be close to the market. And Mexico fits that bill perfectly. Even Mexican investment executives acknowledge that these tariffs have driven a significant influx of Chinese capital into Mexico. Looking at the broader picture, the influx of Chinese investment into Mexico has grown exponentially since the tariffs were introduced. From negligible amounts in 1999, investments surged around 2017 and reached record levels by 2021. Mexico is suddenly flush with cash from Chinese investments. After the US imposed tariffs on China in 2018, many Chinese companies started looking for new opportunities and found a welcoming partner in Mexico. You might wonder, with the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, in place since 1994, didn't Mexico already have strong economic ties with the US and Canada? Indeed, NAFTA, signed by President Bill Clinton, eliminated all tariffs and quotas on US exports to Mexico and Canada by January 1st, 2008, fostering a robust bilateral commercial relationship. Historically, the top three exporters to the US have been China, Mexico, and Canada. But China, facing tariffs, is seeking alternatives. One example is the development of a massive Hofusan industrial park in Mexico. Reports indicate that this park will host 35 businesses and employ 15,000 workers, surpassing the population of the nearest town, Salinas, Victoria. And did you know Chinese accountants have found a clever loophole in US tax law? By using parts made in Mexico, electric vehicles can qualify for a $7,500 US consumer tax credit under the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. The trick is that the vehicles must not contain any battery minerals or components from China. Instead, they source these from elsewhere, making the vehicles eligible for the tax credit. Imagine the advantage: $7,500 per vehicle. The strategists in China have nailed it with this move. However, it might not sit well with some US policymakers. For example, former President Trump, known for his tariffs on China, could push for tariffs on Mexico to counteract this strategy. Critics argue that such measures could violate NAFTA, but given Trump's history, he might still attempt it. Currently, Chinese-built electric vehicles face a 27.5% tariff when entering the US. This includes a standard 2.5% tariff on imported cars and an additional 25% imposed by Trump's administration in 2018. To bypass these tariffs, China's largest EV maker, which recently surpassed Tesla in sales, is looking to set up operations in Mexico near the US border. Why? Because building cars in Mexico is cheaper due to lower labor costs and attractive energy prices. Here's a striking fact. Manufacturing labor rates in Mexico are often lower than in China. In 2019, the fully burdened direct labor wage rate in Mexico was about $3.95 per hour compared to $4.50 in China. Whoever decided to shift production to Mexico to dodge tariffs was not only smart, but also benefited from lower labor costs compared to China. But let's pause and consider the broader implications. Lower cost, combined with the ability to bypass tariffs by assembling in Mexico, gives Chinese companies a significant competitive edge over US manufacturers. With China's car imports to Latin America skyrocketing by 50% over a decade, it's evident they're gaining momentum. Meanwhile, America's exports to China are dwindling. And by moving production to Mexico, China can build EVs at a lower cost, making them highly competitive in the American market. This strategic move could have major implications for American workers and manufacturers, potentially leading to job losses in the US as more production shifts to Mexico. It's almost as if China has decoded America's playbook and is now churning out cars that are not only cheaper, but also of superior quality. Despite political tensions between the US and China, the two countries remain each other's most important trading partners. American and Chinese companies continue to strengthen their relationships, despite obstacles put up by the US government. Interestingly, when the US restricted China's access to advanced AI microchips, China responded by ramping up its efforts and developing its own microchips, which are now being sold internationally. Mexico has seen the potential in partnering with Chinese companies and has welcomed over 1,300 of them to invest and build in Mexico. In the future, Mexico could become a hub for manufacturing electric vehicles, especially as China prepares to introduce its advanced and affordable EV models to the North American market. Mexico's relationship with China is growing, and there's speculation that Mexico might join the BRICS network, led by China, Russia, and India. This could potentially be a concern for the US, but Mexico is focused on business and making money. Even if Mexico doesn't join BRICS, it can still benefit as a middleman between the US and China, boosting its economy significantly. So, while it seems like a win for Mexico, it's a wake-up call for America. And hey, if you found this video as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more insights on intriguing economies and exciting geopolitical happenings coming your way. Don't miss out on the fun, join our community, and stay in the loop.